Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of Beautiful and very wet as we record this, British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zach Random Eisenheimer.
and if Zach doesn't make it to the end of this show, it's probably because he's got pneumonia. Your voice is doing well. I mean,
Hopefully not, yeah.
I've always admired your passion for your teams, but to be out in Langley watching Vancouver FC in a torrential downpour, especially in the second half, with no roof, that takes some doing. So, bravo, applause from me for you. And I mean that in all seriousness, because it's like I was meant to go to League One games today at a place with no roof, and I was like, I'm staying home.
No, it was yeah. It was not the greatest weather today, but it was a lot of fun still.
Yeah.
I mean-
also, want to give a shout out to our photographer Tommy Waziak, who
Yeah.
also was out photographing in that today. I hope his camera is still working. It's been crazy. Friday and Saturday was gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah. They
And
were, weren't they?
Today,
Today was a bloody nightmare.
yeah, I had short sleeve t-shirts on and stuff.
Oh man.
I wore sunscreen to walk to the Whitecaps game yesterday.
My biggest mistake was I wore a whatever, I don't know what the technical term would be, but water resistant jacket as opposed to waterproof jacket. But I had a whole bunch of like ponchos with me, and I handed them all out. I'm like, I got my jacket, I'll be fine. Multiple people after the game were like, thank you so much for that poncho you gave me. It's safe. And I was like, I should have put one on.
Yeah. As a dog person who goes out in all these weathers, I know how shit my water resistant or non-water resistant jackets are. It's okay if it's a drizzle. As soon as it gets any heavier than that, you're soaked through. Also, my parka that I've got that's water resistant, the water then drips down to the bottom of it and then just goes all over my thighs. It's horrible. Looks like I've pissed myself. Which
Yeah,
sometimes
awkward.
I have, and I can just use the rain as an excuse. But
There you go.
there
Yeah.
you go. But I mean, it has been a feast of football once again. Whitecaps games, CONCACAF, MLS, internationals, League One BC got underway on Friday with a couple of games on Sunday as well. The CPL got underway this weekend. We've got more football coming over the next couple of weeks here from afar, featuring teams from here as well. There's a lot of games going on, and we'll talk a bit as the show goes on away as well about that, but it really does put a strain on people's pockets, and I think attendances all round have been mixed as a result.
Can I tell you one crazy story?
Mm.
I'm speaking about pockets and cost and whatever. I took my daughter on Friday night to the women's game, and I knew it was going to be like a game time thing with school for her. I had some commitments and stuff, so I didn't buy a ticket ahead of time, and I was kind of keeping an eye on things. And then of course I saw Youth very kindly put out the code for cheaper tickets, and I was like, sweet. I had kept my eye on that. I messaged a couple friends, like, is anyone have extra tickets they need to get used? Blah blah. Hadn't heard anything back, so I go to the stadium. I hadn't got tickets yet. Go to the stadium. I actually saw Benny Fisk outside the stadium.
Huh.
He was not going to the game. He was going to a family thing, but I saw Benny Fisk outside the stadium. I just said to my daughter as I was loading up the app to go through the code you had and following your instructions that you put online, very helpful. I just said to my daughter, I said, go to the window there and ask them what's the cheapest ticket with like all the fees and whatever. So she came back and your price was still the best price. So I I purchased the tickets. I downloaded them into my wallet or whatever on my phone, thingamabob, got them ready. So, and I go in line and there's multiple layers to the line. And I just have my phone open and kind of ready to go. And there's some like a group of 6 in front of us and they go through. And then the guy just like waves me and my daughter through. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're through. Next phase, they're going to frisk us and metal detectors and whatever. And I was like, and then once we get in, they'll check our tickets or whatever. So we go through the metal detector and all the kind of stuff. We get inside the stadium. I'm like, no one has checked our tickets at all. I didn't even have to have a ticket. Like, what is this?
Oh,
It was the most awkward. I mean, I'm not saying I would have done that.
the attendance was actually 2 more than was revealed.
Apparently, although if they were doing tickets sold.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
our tickets were sold. But
wow,
it was just really. I just said to my daughter, I was like, "Do you realize this what happened?" She's like, "No, Dad, what happened?" I was just like, "We never showed anyone our tickets. They just pushed us through." It was pretty funny. It was a good time. It was a good time. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I mean, we're going to talk about the Canadian women's national team, senior and under 17 in part 4. We're going to have an interview, 2 feature interviews in this episode. One with local lass and Canadian women's national team Olympic gold winning hero, Julia Grosso. That's in part 4. We're also going to sit down with Madam President Sinead King from Vancouver Rise just to chat about the Rise's preparation. And my analogy to her, is she like a duck right now? And you can find out what I mean by that as we get into part 3.
I know you and I know what you mean.
Yeah, but it's not to do with the rain. But yeah, so we speak to Sinead in part 3. It's a really good chat, so you'll enjoy that. We'll talk Whitecaps in part 2 and in part 1, because we'll talk about the exciting news that finally the Whitecaps might get a stadium to call their own. So that's coming up soon. I was back, my first commentary for 5 months. League One BC season kicked off on Friday night at Swangard, clashing with the women's game at BC Place. A good crowd, about 700 out, so it was a really good turnout. I was quite surprised. 2 good games.
700? I thought it was only 500. 700.
500 at the women and about 700 it looked for about the men.
Oh,
so,
okay. No, good.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good turnout for that. 2 good games, 2-2-2 draws, some dodgy refereeing.
I was going to say,
with that.
one of the common threads through this weekend is dodgy refereeing.
Dodgy refereeing, yes. There was some wild decisions in that, some good goals and technical issues with the stream. So, I mean, that was good. But I talked in the last show about the US Open Cup and I'd covered the Tuesday games that most folk won't care about. I'm not going to go into a big thing about Wednesday's games, but I do want to just talk about 3 games very quickly that took place on Wednesday. My interviews may be over with the MLS analysts because Des Moines Menace got beat. Man. So they are now out of the US Open Cup. They were taking on USL one side Union Omaha and they lost 2-1. Sasha Klestjan, our guest in episode 663 of the podcast, got sent off for a second yellow.
That would be a great follow-up interview.
From the bench.
Oh, from the bench.
He was abusing the official.
Oh, so he didn't actually impact the game then?
No, but I would love to hear what he said. I didn't catch what he said about that in the MLS 360 yesterday, but I'm sure he was getting wound up about that. But that was a decent game. I watched the Washington Derby as Tacoma Defiance beat Spokane Velocity. So Tacoma Defiance are MLS Next Pro. Basically, they're Sounders 2.
Yeah.
And Spokane Velocity are USL 1. It went to extra time, and it was an own goal that won it for the Defiance.
Having watched Tacoma Defiance play this year, they're a good side. Yeah.
Well, they play out of Starfire as well, so it's always nice to watch games at Starfire. So many memories of when we went down. But the last game I just want to talk about, because this was insane. The Chattanooga Derby. Choo choo. I didn't know all the background about this until they were starting to talk about it during the game, and then I looked it up. There is a bitter rivalry between these two teams.
Isn't this about like, wasn't there like a group there that was kind of the impetus for getting MLS in the state?
Kinda. So, Chattanooga Red Wolves are the original team. And they got offered the chance to join MLS Next Pro. But they said, no, we're happy in USL. So MLS then gave a franchise, and I don't like using that word, to Chattanooga FC. And as we've seen elsewhere, when MLS do a new team, the existing team often folds. But the Red Wolves were like, screw that, we're not going anywhere, we're the original team. So USL 1, MLS Next Pro, this is the first time they've ever met. Over 12,000 people turned up for it. It was an amazing atmosphere. No fights either, I'm surprised, because apparently it is really acrimonious between those two teams and their sets of supporters.
But wasn't that the whole thing, that the Chattanooga FC supporter culture was what led them to getting Nashville in an MLS?
Possibly.
I thought there was some. I could be wrong, but I thought the fervor and the passion and the quantity.
Well, that would be Chattanooga Red Wolves then, because they were the original team. So it was probably their fervor and passion that then helped with that.
I thought it was called Chattanooga FC, but
I don't know. Maybe Chattanooga FC have been around. They were founded in 2009, but they joined MLS Next Pro in 2024.
Yeah, I thought Chattanooga FC they had this like fervent support that helped kind of propel the state to get an MLS team, but that then went to Nashville and not to them, and there was some.
Well, the original Chattanooga FC, I think, became Chattanooga Red Wolves.
Oh, okay. That would make sense then.
Yeah, because they were like, we're not joining MLS, but we're keeping our club.
Yeah.
Which you've got to admire. I was rooting for them. I was hoping they were going to win. Went to penalties, and the MLS Next Pro team went through. But that atmosphere was like, wow.
Chattanooga is the place, I think I've told you the story once before, where spring break of 1993, my family was driving down to California, to Florida, for family. Actually, I think my stepdad was doing some work, but we were going on a family vacation, going to Disney, all that kind of stuff. And there was a blizzard, and the interstates all got closed, and the snow was everywhere, and it was crazy. And long story short, we spent the night in a like middle school gymnasium in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Wow.
At 4 a.m. in the morning. I remember the bathrooms, like the power stopped working, and maybe the bathroom stopped working, and 4 a.m, the National Guard showed up. The doors of the gym burst open, and the National Guard was like throwing blankets into the gym to all these people who were freezing to death. It was quite the experience. We had that blanket as a family for years and years and years after that.
I mean, it was such a good atmosphere, and it was great to see a city just so embrace the cup competition like that.
Yeah.
And it's what I still hope in years to come we can get here in Canada with these kind of things as well. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, that was that. I won't get into the Whitecaps chat now, because it's been a big week for the Whitecaps, both on and off the pitch. There was big breaking news on Friday evening. Global News ran a story that the Whitecaps were seeking to build a new stadium up at the PNE grounds, and that forced the Whitecaps to issue their own statement. Came out 6:15ish on Friday. Not really when I'm sure the club wanted to issue this statement, but it's exciting news. It's great to have it out there. It's rumours that we first heard from before COVID times, and we've talked about it in the show in the last few years. And the Whitecaps statement, I'll read it for you, it said, "We can confirm that Whitecaps FC is currently in discussions with the City of Vancouver regarding the construction of a stadium at the PNE Fairground site. The club's ownership has always been clear on their goal of constructing a purpose-built stadium and the importance of a suitable venue to both fan experience and financial performance for any professional sports franchise. Don't like the use of the F word there, but we'll let that one go. It finishes up by saying, "We look forward to continuing our constructive engagement with the city and appreciate the city's continued support for Vancouver's thriving soccer community." So very little to go on there, very little news in general about this, as you would kind of expect. So the general scuttlebutt, matching what we heard many, many years ago now, is that the Hastings Racecourse would be where the new stadium would be built. It's the ideal site in many terms, not so much in public transport terms, but we'll get to that in a bit as well. But it's a good site. It's not downtown. There is obviously local neighbourhoods and houses round about there that may not be happy with extra traffic volume in the area. You're always going to get that. I don't think we're going to see the pushback that we saw from the Waterfront Stadium all those years ago and all the NIMBYs, but I guess you never know. But there's certainly a lot of questions, and we're going to delve into some of those in this part. But before we get into that, we'll bring you some audio from Whitecaps president Axel Schuster. He spoke to media on Saturday before the game at Colorado. It was arranged at quite short notice. I wasn't able to make it down in time, so I want to thank Gemma from Canadian Press for not only sending me the audio, but asking a couple of the questions that I wanted asked as well. So we'll bring you some of that just now. There's only certain things Axel can say. So not a lot of information in this, but worth hearing anyway. Here's Axel S.
Axel, what can you tell us about the stadium deal?
So let's start with this. I think I have said before, and I have encouraged everyone to think positive, that we are only working on one plan, one goal. And this means, or this is to keep the club in Vancouver and to find a very good setup for the future for this club in Vancouver. And part of all of this is to look in every possible option that might be needed to do this successfully. And I can kick it off also with saying that since we have made this announcement in December, really a lot of different people, groups, stakeholders have connected with us and came to us or have been open to speak with us, and we have spoken with them. And that includes obviously also the city, that also includes BC Place. And so we are continuing to working on a very good solution for this club in the future in Vancouver.
That opens two questions for me.
Yes.
One, is the club still for sale?
Yes, the one thing has nothing to do with the other. It has to do with the other. So I have to correct myself right away. But the announcement yesterday hasn't changed anything to the announcement in December. That's what I want to say. Because the club is for sale, and because our ownership group, and I have also said that, is they have not given up on this club. We have spoken about why we are doing this. For that reason, they are also very, very interested that we find a very good solution for this club, for the future of this club in Vancouver, for a successful future. And that means to look into every little thing that might be needed. And, of course, a stadium project is one of this.
Is a stadium project tied to this particular ownership group, or could it possibly follow when the club is sold?
No, I think that we have to focus on the second part of this question, because it is, I would say it is a learning of the last month that there are groups that are interested in the club. They have looked into our club. They are continuing to do this. They have asked questions. And then there's also obviously the question, what would a new stadium do for this club? So it is our job, if we all are interested in a great setup for this club in Vancouver, and to fulfill all dreams of everyone that this will be in Vancouver and will be successful in Vancouver, to work on an option for a potential new ownership group and have that also on the table to say, if you want to take the club from here and you want to do as of a good job to continue to grow this club in this city, we also have a ready for you option on the table for a stadium.
Had been hearing things that in terms of the PNE, is Hastings Racetrack one of the areas that you have identified as a potential site for a new stadium?
Look, our job is to have an option on the table. And I don't want to say that this is limited to one certain little thing that was now speculated. We will not participate in the speculations because I can only speak about very positive conversations. I can speak about that everyone at the table has the interest to find a good solution. If that is then a little bit left, a little bit right, or maybe somewhere totally different at the end, that's for us right now not so super important. For us is that we are on the right path to have an option for the potential next ownership group.
Axel, what can you tell us about how long these discussions have been going on? I know you don't want to talk about who you've been speaking with or where exactly things are, but can you tell us a little bit about how long this has been in process?
And that goes back to December. I really have to say that after this announcement came out, and I can tell you that we haven't shared with anyone more than 2 days before, and this includes city and province. After that, okay, then we first had the holiday season for a short period, but then after that, proactively, those groups have reached out. So the conversations have started there, not on some specific things at that point, but hey, how can we support? What do you think we need? Is there anything the city can do? Is there anything? And I said that it's more than we have spoken with more groups. This is now obviously about a conversation with the city. But I have to say that a lot of the positive energy that I had when I was speaking with people in January, and February, and March was coming from those positive conversations that we had that really felt like we're not alone, and there are a lot of groups interested in the city to help us to keep this club successfully in Vancouver. The
fact that you were approached by those groups, what does that say about what this club means to the city?
A lot. That's what I want to say. That gave me a lot of positive energy. That gave our ownership group a lot of positive energy, and because we knew that there will be a lot of things that will be needed. That there are a lot of things that will be needed to reach our goal and to make that successful. But we also knew that this will not all only be manageable and solvable by ourselves. So then to feel that some important stakeholders are coming to us and say, look, is there anything with what we can support you, was a very, very good feeling, and also tells you a little bit that there are a few people who think this club is important in the city.
Some people are looking at this announcement as saying that this is a way for the club to renegotiate their deal before the lease expires next year. Are there any details at this point that you could share with us that shows that this is not just empty talk, that this is concrete?
No, I want to say something different. One of the stakeholders that came to us was also BC Place. And we are in very open, friendly, and I would say encouraging conversations with Chris May at BC Place about a different type of lease for our future, because BC Place is the best stadium we have in British Columbia, and it will be still the only stadium next year when we need a new lease. And this has nothing to do, not one with the other. And you can imagine that a stadium that is owned by the provincial government, that the people are pretty much aware of conversations that the city has with our club, that is all somehow related. So there was nothing happening behind the doors. And yesterday at the Women's National League game, I met Chris May, and we had another very good conversation. So they are one of the others who have come to us and said, is there anything we can support you with? And so that makes me optimistic that we will get a good solution there, and that the other thing is an option for the future.
You talked about the discussions about this going back to December, also when the announcement about potentially the sale happening. How much of that sale kind of led to wanting to find a home, making the club a more attractive option? And is there a hope that this might bring in renewed interest from ownership groups that may have not tendered an offer?
I think it all plays into each other. I have said, and I have said it before, that the ownership group hasn't given up on the club, and that the ownership group isn't running away. They have the biggest interest that this club stays here, finds a successful setup, that we find a next ownership group, and I think this was what we said at the first in December already, to find somebody who takes it from here and brings it to the next step in Vancouver. And part of the job that we have started then was to provide this potential next new owner all options that we also think might be of interest and might be needed to make it successful. Because, of course, the club has some challenges like other clubs in MLS. This league is growing, and we have to adjust to that, and we have to find our own niche, but we also have to find the next successful setup to compete in this league. And as I said, this is about having all options on the table. And I think this discussion about a soccer-specific venue and that would be a big step forward is nothing new, but it was something that came back to the table to work on.
Axel Schuster there, not able to give too much away about the new stadium plans, understandably, because I'm sure there's lots of non-disclosures signed, and it's probably not what the Whitecaps had hoped for this to kind of break just now. Now, from speaking to some of the Whitecaps, they're adamant that it didn't get into the news from them, so you have to wonder, did it come from the city side or did it come from somewhere else? But I mean, I mentioned in the lead up to that, Zach, for the last couple of years, we've talked about the plan for Hastings Racecourse that we've heard. Now, we'll say it hasn't been confirmed that this is the racecourse. It's just at the PNE is where they're looking at. But they're not going to tear up Empire because it's used so much for community. The racecourse is really the only place that it's going to be, and it's going to make sense. And I know the horse racing community will be up in arms. I've spoken about this before with Saskatchewan and the CPL when there was all the things with the horse racing. For me, horse racing is a dying sport. It's a cruel sport, and I've no love for it. And if the racecourse goes, I'm sorry for all the people that love it, the folk that get a living out of it and jobs, etc. But in this day and age, from an animal welfare point of view, be happy to see it go. So
whenever I think of horse racing, I think of how Sir Alex Ferguson used to breed like showbred horses or fast horses or something. And
well, a lot of footballers buy race horses. That's kind of like one of the cliches of what footballers used to do back in the day, especially in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Talking of which will, in the second part, I had a tweet all ready to go yesterday because Calvin Harris came on in the second half for Colorado, and I had my tweet. I was wanting him to get booked, and I was going to go, that may have been acceptable in the 80s, Calvin, but not today. I never got booked, so, or even a bad tackle, or involved in any way in the game. It felt. But we'll come to that in the next part. But back to this more exciting news about the stadium plan. So we've talked that there was this plan for the racecourse. Now, Axel, in his chat on Saturday, kind of indicated that talks have been quite recent about this. But we've heard from pre-COVID that there was a plan for a stadium at the racecourse. Now, that's not to necessarily say the Whitecaps were involved in it at that point, but we both heard from different people there is a plan for a stadium at the racecourse.
Yeah, yeah. So I've heard some things as a kind of a follow from this announcement on Friday, and I haven't had time to follow them up further or to get other sources to verify them or whatever. But one of the things I heard that is that the Whitecaps more recently than the initial time that people would think of naturally, that they have tried. Greg Kerfoot has been trying to get a stadium deal done, ideally closer to his original plans of the waterfront stadium, and that a deal with certain elements of that were actually there was actually really great progress.
Yeah, they were like on the table again.
Yeah, but what I heard was that the city of Vancouver put a stop to that. And then what I heard was sorry, actually, a perspective I heard on this, a kind of just a person putting a number of things together, a person whose opinion I respect, thought that the announcement in December of the club being for sale could be related to Kerfoot saying, okay, I've tried, I don't know, I've done all this stuff for the club. I've tried to multiple ways to build my own stadium because that is an extremely important part of this whole owning and running a football club. I've tried in multiple ways, multiple places, multiple different things, and I keep getting shut down. So it's not going to happen. I need to move on. Or
That's understandable.
yeah,
Like you can only be kicked in the face so many times.
totally. So family planning, estate planning or whatever you call it, and all that kind of stuff. Or one train of thought around this could be the announce to sell is also just a bit of leverage in the discussions around getting a stadium done. Now, again, this is just things I've heard. This is not, I haven't done any further digging.
No, but I think a lot of folk jumped to that conclusion as well.
Yeah. Well, I heard,
and like Axel was asked about it, and again, not a total clear answer, but he also said, like, since the sale came up, the likes of Pavco, because the lease is ending, is like, what can we do for you? And the city, what can we do for you? So maybe it was used as leverage, and if it was, good luck to them.
Oh yeah, I've seen multiple people, multiple spaces hypothesize that this is about a better deal at BC Place, and that could be the case. I wouldn't rule that out, but I don't think it is, honestly.
Oh no, they've wanted as a club, and Kerfoot.
Yeah.
And like Kerfoot has done so much for football in this city.
Yeah.
And for Canada in general, with the women's team, the investment in the academy, bringing the Whitecaps back, bringing the Whitecaps to MLS. He wanted a stadium with his own money, and he got turned down with all the NIMBYs. Now, we might see NIMBYs come out of the woodwork here up at the PNE and say, yeah, we don't want 20, 25, 30,000 people, because we don't know, like right now, we know nothing about these plans, and Axel can't share anything about these plans. How big is the stadium? Are we looking at a 30, 40,000, or is that too much? Would he go for a small? We know it's soccer specific. Both the Rise and the Whitecaps would play out of it, which makes sense, because if you've got a soccer specific stadium, you control everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
The rumoured start date from speculation, and like Glass City even talked about this way back in 2019. He dug out a tweet that he'd put out way back in the day that shovels in the ground in 2027. So we're talking after the World Cup. Now, we know how quick stadiums can go up. 6-5 do a great job at getting stadiums up quickly, but they're very basic stadiums. This would need to be a really solid bricks and mortar, proper stadium. And, I mean, you could be talking up to 2 years of building, judging by what some of the other clubs in MLS have had to go through to get stuff done. So I mean, it might be talking for the 2029 season. So the Whitecaps still have to play out a BC Place. And Axel basically seemed to indicate, Pavco will work with them. And what that will mean, you would imagine, is just a rolling deal And it's like, we'll play here until we go, and Pavko will be happy with that. Now, the club is still up for sale. And like JJ Adams from the province wasn't able to get down in time for Axel because of traffic, but he did manage to speak to Axel afterwards. And in his piece for the province, he asked Axel a very interesting question, because JJ and me were talking about this at the game yesterday. He asked him, are all the owners willing to walk away, or would some of the owners still stay under a new owner? Because it is kind of weird that the owners would put the club up for sale and still look to build a new stadium for them.
Yeah.
And basically the answer was never say never. So, I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Jeff Mallett could find a consortium and still be involved with the club. He might not want to walk away. He's always spoken about he wanted to give a legacy to his family. The other part of this as well is, if the club has a soccer-specific stadium, it's more likely that the new owners would be like, okay, we'll keep the club in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Because we own an asset.
Yeah.
But then you've got all these other questions. Who pays for the stadium? I can't imagine it's going to be from public funds.
No. And that's the thing, that this type of quote unquote asset or infrastructure or whatever, then you would think has to raise the cost or the valuation of the football.
Oh, that as well, yeah.
Right, like, so,
Well, do the club own the stadium? Because that's the thing as well. Because Bob Backen wrote an article in The Breaker on Saturday morning and kind of hinted, and also reading between the lines, that the deal could be, and of course this is all just like pulling into speculation station at this point, but the deal could be the city sell the racecourse to Greg Kerfoot. Greg Kerfoot owns the land, builds the stadium, he owns the stadium. Does he sell that with the club? Does he keep the stadium? Is it part ownership? Does that increase the valuation for the club? Which it most certainly would.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be building a stadium and not get something out of it.
Yeah.
So many questions.
Question just for you, and you referenced a few of the possibilities. If Michael McCall is in charge of this project and the finances are not an issue, which obviously they are in reality, what's the capacity of the stadium that you're building, Michael? Because I've been thinking about this a bunch.
I have as well. And I'm thinking 30,000.
You know what they say, Michael?
The bigger the better? No,
great minds think alike.
Oh!
I've been thinking, like, if it's not 30, it doesn't feel like it's worth moving out. It is worth moving out of BC Place. But like, if you're not building something that's for at least 30, then it just doesn't feel right.
Because you want to grow this team.
Yeah. And you already have a significant fan base you're dealing with. If you move into a football specific stadium with grass pitch, which should then also impact your squad and all these different things.
I was going to mention that. It's like you're bringing in better quality players
exactly
to a beautiful city in a beautiful stadium with one of the best training centres in the world. Players that come here from, like, the Wrexham players and stuff were like blown away with the training centre and everything like that.
The location of the training centre gets worse and worse.
Well, yes. That was the other thing I was going
to... That's a trek.
Yeah, Harry and me were talking about this yesterday. It's like, how will the players feel? You're going to train in the opposite end of the city, and you couldn't get a stadium built much further away from where your training centre is. But am I not right in saying Portland Timbers training centre is in Beaverton? I think I've been to it, and I'm pretty sure it was in Beaverton.
I'm trying to.
That's 15-ish minutes outside of Portland. So I mean, it's maybe not unnatural, but the location of it up at the PNE, I think it's ideal. You think back to Empire 2.0, the start of MLS, and it wasn't a great stadium in many ways.
Yeah. But significantly, to me, the two most significant things about that temporary stadium were, number one, and they're actually connected, it was built to house two teams, one playing two different sports, which meant that the end zone seating was very, very far away for the supporters on both ends. And then the other thing is it was not grass.
Yes.
And I guess no roof.
Yes.
But I'm living that
Oh,
dream.
two stands had a roof.
Wow, it wasn't even a full roof.
No, because I had Lions season tickets, and I made sure I was under a roof for my seat. It's like not taking any chances with that.
You still go to the Lions?
I haven't. I just haven't got time anymore.
Right.
I like follow them and stuff, but I love the CFL. I love the Lions, and something that pisses me off so much, and it's not as bad, I think, as it used to be, is it's like you are allowed to like other sports and other sports teams in the city. There shouldn't be if you're a Lions fan, you shouldn't hate the Whitecaps. If you're a Whitecaps fan, you shouldn't hate the Lions for doing things differently or having success. It's like support it, support all the teams in the city. Apart from the Canucks, I'm a Maple Leafs fan. We'll probably have folks switching off and unsubscribing to us now.
Are you really a Maple Leafs fan?
Yeah. Well, I used to watch more ice hockey when I was in Scotland than I do here.
It's so refreshing to hear another human being refer to it by its world-known name as
ice hockey. As soon as I said it, I thought you're going to mention that.
So many people get angry at me, Michael. When
I know.
So there's a whole bunch of people listening to this right now.
They're angry for various reasons. He hates the Canucks. He's a Leafs fan, and he calls it ice hockey.
So the Leafs were.
I want my money back.
The Leafs were my NHL team when I was growing up. Obviously.
Well, like I've been to see the Leafs at Maple Leaf Gardens.
So
they were the first ice hockey team I saw, so that's my team.
I worked at Maple Leaf Gardens for a game, selling, I don't know, ice cream sandwiches or something.
Yeah, I saw a game. I've seen 2 games there. I saw one on New Year's Eve. It was amazing. They are first in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, there you go. It's crazy. Not first overall. Okay.
No, but I don't know how we got into ice hockey, but we did.
You were talking about it's okay to love multiple teams.
Oh yes, that was how. Apart from the Canucks, but I think I went and watched Canucks games when I first moved here.
Oh,
I turned off by how much coverage they get.
My father-in-law, before he was my father-in-law, took me to a game in like 2001 or 2002, and it was like, I think it was like a 10-2. I think victory. Could have been a loss, but I think victory against the Ducks or the Shark. One of those. It was a crazy game.
I went to a lot of the Canucks Leafs games wearing my Leafs gear, and there was always fights and trouble. And I was like, that was why I stopped going to 49ers games down in Seattle. I was I don't think I want to put myself in this with my mouth.
Yeah.
I would hope everyone is rooting for all the teams and like supportive of things. And this stadium won't just help the Whitecaps. It'll obviously help the Rise, but it'll attract like international teams here, international clubs for friendlies as well. Whether you think the All-Star game is worthwhile or not, it's something that's likely to get that. Thierry Henry, I was listening to a podcast actually this week, and Thierry Henry, we know he never played at BC Place because of the turf. What I didn't know is he actually had it in his contract he would not play on turf. That was put in his contract before he signed.
So like the games he played in like New England were just because for the betterment of the team.
Yeah. Wow. So he could miss every game if he wanted.
On turf, wow.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if Messi's got something as well. It's like, yeah, you can choose what games you want to play in.
Well, most recently here, BC Place was, what's his name? Sergio Ramos, right?
Yeah.
In Mexico.
Although he doesn't travel, apparently. So that.
But it was, I think it's more broad than that. I think.
Oh, yeah. There was no way he was going to come and play in that at his age.
No.
Might have helped us more in the first leg. I mean, it certainly helped us in the second leg. I mean, if the Whitecaps do well on Wednesday and Miami get through, it's Whitecaps Miami, and there's no way Messi does not come for a Champions Cup semi-final, you would think.
It's the first leg though, right?
That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because the Whitecaps should have the higher seeding.
Oh, okay.
In CONCACAF games before.
Because if it was the first leg, I could see him come and not play. But if it's the second leg, he'll definitely come in.
I mean, I'm happy if he doesn't. It gives us a better chance.
Yeah.
Back to the stadium. There is so many other questions as well, and one of them is about transit. I think it's a great venue. I'm slightly shaded by the fact I can walk there in 20 minutes.
Yes, you can.
Yes. I'll probably still drive. But if there's media parking.
My daughter was like, as we were driving by your neighborhood, but by your street, I was just like, yeah, I know Michael lives on. I was like, sorry to the point. She's like, yeah, I know your podcast buddy lives there.
Oh,
Because every time we drive by your, I always tell the kids, I'm like, oh, that's where Michael lives.
I'm your podcast buddy. I take it she doesn't listen to the podcast.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no, no, no. Yeah. I don't think that'd be good parenting.
I do often wonder, what, it wouldn't be good parenting. We record this with your son sitting right in the room.
Okay, but well, he's not here now. But yeah. Some of our conversations have provided opportunities for me to have great parenting conversations.
Yes. Don't be like Michael. If Michael says this, do the opposite.
Son, is there anything you heard? You have questions. Right,
back to the stadium chat. This is how our podcasts are 3 hours as well. Because we're recording this on Sunday night. It's now Monday morning already. We're on part one.
It's worse on a night like this when I'm like utterly exhausted.
I know.
But then I just talk more and I laugh more. And, yeah.
Part 1 of 4, and it's after midnight already. Some of it's already pre-recorded with the interview, so don't worry. Right, the other questions. Transit. Obviously, there's no SkyTrain. There has been murmurs that part of the plan of this would involve SkyTrain going up to SFU, maybe even over to North Van, or light rail, which, looking at the disruption that the SkyTrain has caused to businesses along the Canby corridor,
oh yeah,
I think light rail would be the way to go, to be totally honest, because Hastings is so busy that I think it would be a killer for some of those businesses if we were looking at SkyTrain. But light rail would be good. If it could go into North Van and get that connected so you're not having to go over the ironworkers as much by car, that would be fantastic.
Not to go on a huge tangent again, but those businesses you mentioned on the Canby corridor there, do they get compensated by the government in some way, shape, or form for the loss of business?
I think there was something, but so many of them have just had to close or just move away. Because there's a couple of things, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind going to Pulp Fiction books, and it's like, oh, it's just such a pain to try and get parking. And they've introduced, like, there used to be streets you could park for free just for an hour or something, just nip and get something. It's all pay parking now.
Yeah. And we know how you feel about that.
Yes. I just don't pay. And then run in and hope I don't get a ticket. So far, so good. But yeah, transit could be a big thing. And they ideally would want to have that long term, but we've seen how long it's taken to get like UBC connected to decent stuff as well. But some of the other questions is, if there's a change of mayor, how would this affect plans? Because Ken Sim is not popular just now. He got booed at the Juno Awards last week. He's just lost the 2 by-elections here as well, with a huge turnout, which was clearly a protest vote against him. I didn't get any voting slip through now as Caitlin, so we didn't vote in this.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is he unpopular right now? What has he done or not done?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
I don't take...
At least I'm not alone in that.
I live in my own little world. I guess he seemed to be elitist, and he's not progressive.
Oh.
Like,
wait, elitist and not progressive? I thought those usually tended to go together.
No, progressive is like the 2 councillors that's just been elected, Downtown East Side advocate and a bike lane advocate.
Oh.
And Ken Sim's not...
Vancouver doesn't have a bike lane.
We need more, apparently. Don't even start me on bike lanes. Also, I genuinely, I don't know why folk don't like Ken Sim. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I only get upset by things that affect me as a selfish prick. So if things haven't affected me, I'm like, I don't know. If he wants to build a stadium for the Whitecaps, he's got my vote, is basically what it comes down to. But yeah, a change of mayor could derail this.
Totally.
They need to get this done before the next elections, which I believe are in 18 months' time, I think I read. Also, what happens if the new owners of the Whitecaps say, yeah, we don't want this stadium, we want to stay at BC Place? Now, that would seem a weird thing to say, but if an owner's coming in with a long-term plan of moving the club, you maybe don't want to have a stadium. But for me, the stadium just needs to get built. And if the worst case scenario happens and the club do end up moving, we've got a soccer-specific stadium for the rise, a Vancouver CPL team, who knows what else.
Yeah.
And I think just long-term planning, it's better than a racetrack that hardly gets used And even when it is used, it doesn't really pack the punters in.
Yeah.
I do like the wiener dog races, but that's a whole different thing. You've seen those? They're awesome.
I have not seen those.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
Get your wieners out and head along. So I guess what I'm saying is watch this space because there's a lot of unknowns. It's just positive. I got excited back in the day with the Waterfront Stadium. I don't know if Brett Graham ever got his deposit back.
I don't think he did.
Oh, well, he'll be first in line for this one then, even though he lives in Seattle now. But yeah, watch this space, and fingers crossed this time we can get it over the line. But we're going to continue the Whitecaps chat now in the next part, as we're going to look at on-pitch matters, because the Caps are still top of the West. And we'll be back chatting about that after our first Britpop song of the episode.
Hi, I'm Emmanuel Sabi, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Catch the bus by 3:30. Otherwise, you find you walking home. The forecast is for rain. 2 weeks in an onward squeeze. It just ignores the phone and turns the TV on when he gets in. My favorite thing has gone away, and I know it won't be easy now. But I'll manage somehow. I stole his shoes and ran away, trying jolly hard. See if we could catch him round the bend. I know. Back in your garden, feel the rain. Hear the pitter and the patter. When the clock as time ticks by. You told me to get some help. Well, help yourself, just help yourself. I'm not the only one who feels this way. My favorite thing has gone away, and I know it won't be easy now, but I'll manage somehow. I stole his shoes and ran away, trying jolly hard. See if we can catch him round the bend. I know.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the first of 2 Britpop songs in this episode, released on April 3rd, 1995. It came in at number 49 in the UK singles charts the following week. It's from a band from Camden in London called Menswear, and that was their debut single. And Menswear were a very polarising Britpop band because they were deemed to have been manufactured to cash in on the whole Britpop scene in the days before X Factor and Popstar and American Idol and all those kind of shows. It was kind of felt that this band was put together. The lead singer was a male model. Very good looking bands. They all dressed in expensive suits, kind of had a bit of a mod look about them, but very much in the Britpop genre. I think they're underappreciated, and it's primarily because they were seen to be manufactured. Went to see them a couple of times live. They were good live, not the best band you're going to see live, but some really good songs, and we'll be playing some more of them over the course of the rest of the year as we honour the 30 years of Britpop, and we'll have another Britpop song to kick off part 4. And we're going to continue the football chat now. The Whitecaps stay top of the Western Conference, and they are second overall still in the Supporters' Shield standings. A dominant performance against Colorado Rapids. They controlled the game. I mean, the first 10 minutes, it was end-to-end. Both teams had their chances. After that, Whitecaps took over. They didn't allow Colorado a single shot on target. And for a Colorado side that's been doing so well on the road and could have gone above the Whitecaps as well if they'd won that one, that was tremendous.
I have watched no Colorado Rapids this year, and so it wasn't until you sent me a message and I saw that statement that you just made in it that if Colorado had won it, they would have leapfrogged the Whitecaps. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because this was a kind of a game on my calendar. I thought, okay, the Whitecaps are going to win this easily, no questions asked.
If you were a neutral tuning in, you'd be like, wow, this Rapids team's terrible. They must be right down the bottom of the league.
That's the other thing. I thought that, and then I watched it, and I'm like, yeah, they're as bad as I thought. And then I saw that comment in the rundown, because I didn't watch it with any audio. And I saw that comment in the rundown, and I was just like, wait, what? And I had to go back and look and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so going into this game, they'd played 6 games, they'd won 3, they'd drawn 2, and they'd only lost 1. And they were actually unbeaten away from home. And the Whitecaps made this look easy. It was like incredible. Like 2-0, it should have been more, it could have been more. Yeah. But you take that. It's a game, you got to take some guys off to rest them for Wednesday.
Yep.
You dominated, you kept a clean sheet, didn't allow a shot on target, and you've got some players that we'll talk about later that are playing out their skin just now, and possibly players that when they came in you were like, wow, they maybe come off the bench, they'll get the odd minutes, I don't see them as regular starters. And now you're thinking, and I'm talking about Emmanuel Sabi and Tate Johnson here, now you're like, it's hard to keep these guys out the team.
Yeah.
What I like about it is everyone that came in seemed to know what their role was, and they executed it perfectly. And I said in my match report, this like teams strive from perfection. This wasn't a perfect performance. There's still a lot of improvements that they can do, but it was very, very good.
Yeah, the opening goal was a beautiful team goal.
Yeah, and they said afterwards, I think it was Ali, when he was speaking about it, said it was how it was drawn up on the, oh, maybe it must have been Ali. It was how it was drawn up on the training ground. So they'd been practicing it on Friday, that exact move, ball to the back of the box, headed down by whoever, into Brian, and I can't make my mind up. I described it in my match report as a deft finish, but I can't make my mind up if he struck it perfectly the way he wanted to, or if he scuffed it. But either way, it was a nice finish, and it took the ball in the net, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unfair question.
It doesn't look a clean connection, but it might be exactly what he tried to do to wrong foot the keeper.
Yeah. And I think either case, though, Michael, it's a very Brian White goal, right?
Yeah, and we can't ask him about it, because I don't know if you heard this on Wednesday, because he got the credit for the goal, which was clearly an own goal. And if anything, the last Whitecaps player to touch it was Ranko, who got a foot on it, I think, on the way in. But it's now been given as an own goal. But Har said to him, chalk us through the goal. And he's like, yeah, I ran into the box, I beat 3 defenders, and I put it straight in the top corner. Because I'd said to him before that, I was like, you've got the credit for that goal. Is that your goal? And it's like, hey, if they're giving me the credit, it's my goal. But yeah, it is a good Brian White finish. And it doesn't feel that he's been that productive, really. He's doing it quietly, as he kind of does, as Vancouver have been kind of doing, but they're getting obviously a lot more attention now. But yeah, the ball in from Tate Johnson was superb, and the header down from Berhalter as well. Both of them deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
That was a great team goal, and you know I love team goals. The second goal was just, so good. And like both of these, I couldn't count. I like to count passes to see how many passes there was in the build-up, but the way that they'd been showing replays and stuff over it, so I don't know exactly how many passes there was. But both of them started with patient passing at the back, then the ball gets played quickly forward, and the second one, Ali Ahmed, absolutely superb. And he gets the little give and go as well with Pedro, and then perfect timed ball to Sabi. I put a picture out because I froze it when I got home. A microsecond later, and Sabi was offside. It's very, very close. If there was lines, his toe may be off, depending on when you look at when the ball was kicked. But who cares? There's no lines. But Sabi times his run perfectly. And Ali said afterwards, he's so used to Ryan Gauld making those runs that he just plays those balls now. And Sabi made that run instead. And what Sabi said afterwards as well is he feels just so integrated in this team. They've welcomed him right away. It's like a brotherhood. And I know that's a word that's been overused a lot in the Herdman era, But he says they're all on the same page. They all know what to do. And all these players are interchangeable. And it's the same on the wingers. You've got Ahmed, you've got Sabi, you've got Jaden Nelson, who sadly has that hamstring injury now. And the fullbacks as well. You've got them interchangeable. You've got Sam, you've got Ocampo, you've got Tate Johnson, you've got Laborda.
Yeah.
They can all come in and they all play the same way. And it's paying off. That goal from Sabi was beautiful. And with the frustration that he went through getting that injury, because I said to him, I spoke to him on the Wednesday, did a nice interview, he was so buzzing, ready to go, and then the Thursday he gets injured. And he's out for a couple of weeks, and it's a long couple of weeks. You've just moved to a new country and a new team and a new league, and you can't play. But he's come back with a tremendous attitude, and that goal's going to help him wonders.
Yeah, totally. You talk about Aliama there. Kirk was watching the highlights of the game, and it was funny because his comments, because I think he heard us say this on the pod, but like Kirk was like, where was that when he was playing for Canada? Because he didn't really shine for Canada.
No, but we'd been saying his Canada form was out with the Whitecaps.
Yeah.
I'm fine if he switched it around. He's got a spark about him now again.
Yeah, totally.
And it's the Ali Ahmed that we know he can be. And he's so funny. If anyone hasn't watched his post-game interview, watch it as well. Because a couple of weeks ago, when Tate Johnson went up, because it was his first post-game, they put Ali in with him.
Oh, yeah.
And Ali had referred to him as his son. So Felipe did a call back to that and said, were you pleased that your son got the assist in the first goal? So they were talking about that. And then after they finished, they went away and I said, he's going to have family members watching that thinking, has Ali had a son that we don't know about? Sabi had impressed me with his sub-performances. And I thought he was deserving of the start. It was maybe forced with Jaden being out. But I think he's hard to drop now after that. Pumas are going to watch that and they're going to be like, we've got something to deal with on Wednesday night. And that's what you want. You want to put that doubt in their mind. But I mean, he was great. Tate Johnson, as I mentioned there as well. The best compliment I can give Tate Johnson is I forget that he's a 19-year-old rookie.
Yeah, that's fair.
He does not look like that. And he's gone up against some really top players and done well.
Yeah, he's turning out to be a great draft choice by the Caps.
This is a thing though as well, because he had a season and a half in USL Championship, and you can almost kind of draw comparisons maybe with Grady McDonald. It's like you're playing in a men's league, and it kind of fast tracks your development.
Yeah,
and then you can take that step up, and you don't feel out of place.
Yeah.
Because he went back to college for a year, betting himself, came out early, and now like he's doing so well. And I was a little concerned when it was the Pumas game. I was like, are they going to give him a torrid time? No. And in this as well, it's like Colorado had nothing to test him, and it allowed him to get forward as well. And his deliveries are great. He's in the right place at the right time. And I really like what he's doing. And keeping on the fullbacks, Edier Ocampo, I'm liking him more and more with every game. I just think he's aggressive. He's going to attract lots of cards. But in games like in CONCACAF, he's the guy I want tearing up that wing and squaring up to the Mexicans. I asked Ali after the game actually last night. I went, are you getting used to playing Mexicans now? Do you like it? And he's like, yeah, I like these games. He won't back down. He likes the physicality and yeah. So, I mean, they were all good. Getting Kubas back so quickly, absolutely massive.
Yes.
I don't think he had a dislocated shoulder, because you do not come back from a dislocated shoulder in a week, surely.
Yeah, that seems quick.
Yeah. It maybe popped out and it was popped back in again. But when Jesper had said during the week, yeah, it might be good to go for the weekend, I was like, whoa, that's optimistic. We've kind of learned as well from Jesper's press conferences, must be a Danish answer when you're asking about how long someone's going to be, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's the standard answer. So that couple of weeks, how close is Ryan Gold? Oh, he's still a couple of weeks.
Yep. Yeah, he does not like to. He does not like to talk. I mean, I've experienced with multiple coaches where they want to give you as little as possible.
Yeah, which I'm all for, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't like the expectation here that coaches need to tell you who's injured, who's out. A lot of it's tied in with the sports betting, apparently.
Yeah.
They have to do these injury reports. But why would you want to give the opposition any heads up?
Yeah.
It's like even the call-ups, I wouldn't announce them. It's like, who's this guy on the bench? Or this guy's got a start. Who the hell's this guy? And like really throw them off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But no, getting Kubas back was massive. And I asked Jesper after the match, what does Kubas mean to this team? He's had a couple of weeks now, or a couple of months now, of watching him. Here's what he had to say.
Andres is a player that's extremely good against the ball. He's plays with such high intensity, and always we would like to be a high pressing team. Is also a guy that allows us to make a mistake here and there, so he will also cover up for some of the things that happens. And when we're talking about us being a solid defensive team, of course he's a big part of it. Our midfield in general is working extremely hard. We can also see that when we have the physical data and stuff like that. So Andres is a brilliant player. He's so valuable for a team, and he's always given everything to the team.
I mean, there's no doubt in Kubas is just such a key player. And like the interviews I did with Dax McCarty, Sasha Kleshin, they both said for them, top 3 defensive midfielder in MLS. And when he's on the pitch, everything just ticks so much better. On paper, this was going to be the toughest test that the Whitecaps had so far. And, I mean, they passed it with flying colours. The next game now with Austin is going to be the biggest test they've had in league play, because Austin flying.
Yeah.
They've dropped to 4th after their draw at the weekend, which I watched a little bit of that game. So the standings just now, Caps out on top, 16 points. San Diego 2nd on 14. Minnesota 3rd on 14. And Austin are 4th on 13. I don't think anyone would have had that as the top 4.
Not a chance.
After week 7. Like in any order, I don't think you'd have had those 4 teams in the top 4.
No.
That's just a testament as to how weird and wacky the West has been. Now, I've seen some folks saying it's kind of showing how weak the West is this year, but I think that's bullshit, to be honest. Like, the Galaxy are clearly struggling. They lost again. I don't know. I mean, you've been super busy this weekend with being out at the game today, trying to get all this stuff ready for the game today. So I don't know how much, if any, of the highlights that you've actually seen.
I've seen a little bit.
The Galaxy.
I haven't seen that one.
Awful. So RSL beat them 2-0, and the Galaxy only seemed to get fired up way too late in the game. Now, they've got one eye on their Champions Cup game, I'm sure,
right,
but it was
exactly.
a couple of goals from Diego Luna, and like he was tremendous, and the Galaxy just had nothing. LAFC, they were another team that they lost 1-0 to Houston away, but they only started playing after they'd gone down about the last 10 minutes or so. So I don't know, do they have an eye on the Champions Cup game as well? Because they're taking on, obviously, Miami. Kansas City beat St. Louis. And this is the first of us to talk about Peter Vermees getting sacked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've had that on the cards for the last 2 years and it never happened.
Yeah, and you were mentioning, some non-North American should fill that role who... There's no way they're going to hand the keys. That Vermees had his hands on all, like, so much in that club.
But I was saying for those listening, maybe Vanny would like that one.
No,
but no,
it doesn't matter if he'd like it. There's no way they're going to bring in Vanny to take over the whole. I think they're going to want someone like a Vermees who can oversee the whole operation. And
see, I don't think they should. I think they should have 2 people come in. I don't like the one person doing both those roles. It's like, it seldom works. Look at Valor in the CPL. There's other issues there. But
Tommy does it fine. The CPL, right? He's wearing all the hats.
That's true. Yeah.
And I don't know if Bobby technically wears all the hats, but it feels like he does.
I just think it's better to have two.
But regardless, you're not replacing Peter Vermees with Vanni Sartini. Like, that doesn't seem like the right cultural shift. I totally forgot that you were talking about Inter Miami before. You really think that somehow, some way, that another Whitecaps versus LAFC battle could be avoided?
I mean, it does feel like it's in the cards. After watching them play Houston yesterday, I would fancy the Whitecaps in that, I've got to say.
Yeah.
And I've never made it down to that stadium, so this would finally be my chance for a midweek game to get down to that.
Yeah.
Two other quick results from the West is to talk about.
Seattle?
Well, yeah, I was saving that to last. I'll come back to that. The one today, San Jose beat DC United 6-1.
Sure.
And San Jose have not been great.
Good. No, not good at all.
A trick for Joseph Martinez. But yeah, save the best to last. San Diego 3, Seattle 0. Now, I only watched the highlights of this. All 3 goals for San Diego in the first half. Again, second week running. San Diego, much like the Whitecaps, come out strong in all their games. They're very much on the front foot to start things. That game in June between the two teams, that first half could just be end to end. That could be exciting as hell.
Not even having Jesus as their center forward could save Seattle.
No. Seattle do look like they've been hit with their injuries. And they've got till April 23rd when the window closes to try and salvage that. We'll talk a little bit more about the window because I've got some audio from Axel talking about whether they're still going to be busy. We'll look at that in the next show. But yeah, that's the West just now. And right now, I think it's still early to get too carried away. But what I liked looking at it is right now, the Whitecaps are 7 points above the playoff line. These early points, I think 48 to 50 should get you in to the playoffs. So they're a third of the way there already.
Yeah.
And after 7 games, that's just phenomenal. Let's hope it keeps up. Of course, they are fighting on 2 fronts right now. The Pumas game, second leg comes up on Wednesday. Pumas lost 3-2 at Cruz Azul on Saturday. So this is a huge opportunity for the Caps. The away goal obviously still looms large. We did say that after Monterrey as well, and you saw what happened there. Didn't get your thoughts on the Thursday show. So, I mean, what did you make of that first leg? What are you thinking for this second one?
I mean, I thought the Whitecaps did really well to score, to get the lead. I think it was, again, another impressive CONCACAF Cup performance by them, and just a little bit maybe naive from Jesper in terms of maybe the late substitutions and the way he tried to close the game down. And the goal at the end is a quality goal from a quality player who I've just seen play at the Nations League finals for Panama. How do you pronounce his name?
Carrasquilla. Carrasquilla.
Scored the penalty in the final for Panama. I remember him playing back in the day for Houston.
Yeah.
You're such a quality footballer, you cannot give that time and space.
No, great finish. He's wide open, but the marking, you've got to question it. And it's like poor Jeevan Badwal just brought on.
Yeah.
And it's like he's not a defender either. And you've got to just question how was that allowed to happen, but it did. And 3 minutes from time was just it's a gut punch.
I was going to say
clean sheet. I'd have taken 0-0. I just wanted the clean sheet. And it was like, we're on the back foot again.
Yeah, because I mean, Kirk was saying to me, he's like, that goal doesn't mean that much. I'm like, yeah. He's like, no. He's like, they still have to score down there. It's just like, or do they, Kirk? What if it ends goalless? And he's like, oh yeah, away goals rule goalless. It is over. So he's like, okay, it is worth.
It's maybe good though that they do have to score because they're not going to just sit back.
That's true.
And it worked well against Monterrey. I'm so excited for this. I came home last night and I was pricing flights to Mexico City. Then I saw the prices and I thought, I'll just watch this one from home. Not sure me and altitude would be a good mix either.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, so another big Wednesday one. No, in all seriousness though, yeah, the previous round I think it gives them the experience that hopefully they'll be able to lean on, and whatever the shortcomings are of the squad in terms of availability, hopefully they can overcome that and press on to make to the semifinals.
Let's hope so. Last couple of quick Whitecaps things. Whitecaps 2 lost to Tacoma Defiance on Sunday night. What a game. Goalless going into about the hour mark. Whitecaps 2 went 2-0 up. Then they gave up 5 goals. And then they scored in injury time and it finished 5-3.
Tacoma, like I said earlier, Tacoma is no joke.
Oh, guy got a hat trick. They as soon as they flicked the switch, they looked good.
Yeah.
In League One, the Whitecaps girls lost to Altitude on the women's side. Altitude, my tip to win on the women's side. Jesse Simons, UBC coach, has got a lot of his girls there, and they had a huge win in that one, 90th minute winner. And I've got to give a huge shout out to the Whitecaps League One side. 14, 15 and 16-year-olds were on that Whitecaps team today because the Whitecaps academy teams were playing yesterday in MLS Next. So they had all these young guys. A lot of them I've never heard of. And they beat many people, including mine's favourites for the men's side this year, Altitude. And apparently it was a tremendous... They went down 1-0. They came back 1-2-1. And to a man, or to a boy, really, they were tremendous out there. And I told you before, I've been told the under-16s that the Whitecaps have just now are phenomenal. And a number of these guys that were playing today and got this win can't get in to the game day 18 for the under-16s right now.
Nice.
So everything's coming up good for the Whitecaps right now. Hopefully it comes up good for Vancouver Rise when they kick off their NSL season in 10 days' time. That's it for the Whitecaps chat, but we're going to turn our attention to the Rise in the next part as I sit down with President Sinead King to chat about the season to come and what has been built so far. Plus we get to know Sinead a little bit more and dig into her love of football, and we'll be back with that after this episode's song from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Sinead King, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Going nowhere, got 2 hands and on to hold them. White noise, Schadenfreude, Facebook message for a brand new toy. I wanna be tough, but I wanna be coy. I wanna be you and you look like a boy. Read up to read at the bookstore cafe. I knew I was gonna overstay. Said I had to go, got in the car and drove back to my blue bungalow. Going nowhere, got 2 hands and no one to hold them. I walked the plank, I went to the bank. I had a hot matcha and a heart attack. Going nowhere, got 2 hands and no one to hold them. On the plane I saw this message. Some woman just had texted. Stanley sits and Stanley drinks. When he takes off his shoes he stinks. He's going nowhere, got 2 red eyes and a bottle of Rona. I got 2 hands and no one to hold them.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our song from our album of the month for April, an album that was released on January 10th this year from Brooklyn singer-songwriter Camille Schmidt, who played the excellent Cult from Denver song on the last episode. This is a song that was released as a single by Camille last year, and it features on her debut album, Number 9 Nude, and that was Stanley. And we'll have more songs from Camille Schmidt's number 9 nude album over the rest of this month. Let me know what you think of it. And part of the reason that I picked Camille's album for this month as our album of the month is obviously it's a huge month for women's soccer in Canada, here in Vancouver. We're going to talk in the next part about the Canadian women's national team that were in town on Friday, taking on Argentina. And then on April 16th, the Northern Super League kicks off. Canada's domestic league finally gets underway. It's been many years in the making, and Vancouver gets to host the historic first game at BC Place as Vancouver Rise take on Calgary Wild. April 16th is when that one goes. Go and get your tickets now for that. Ticket sales are doing okay, but they would like them to be more. They want to pack out BC Place, and it's such a historic occasion that you should get along and cheer on the women on the pitch, cheer on the league, and get it off to a fantastic start. And one of the women tasked with taking Vancouver Rise into their first season is President Sinead King. The Englishwoman, although I won't hold that against her, has come to the Rise with a very experienced business background. So many of the women involved in the league have come to the league with big business backgrounds, varied business backgrounds as well. But I think they'll be finding that football is certainly a different challenge of business to maybe banking or non-profits or other kind of businesses that they've been involved with. I know Sinead has certainly found that, and it is certainly a challenge. Not only are you launching a brand new football team, you're doing it in a brand new league. Everything is new, and you've got to get everything up and running. How are things going? Well, I got a chance to sit down with Sinead on Friday to ask her just that, and also to let you, the listeners, you, the Vancouver Rise and women's soccer fans throughout Canada, get to know Sinead a little bit more, find out about her background, what is happening behind the scenes at the Rise, where did she get her love of football from to begin with. We chat about that and a lot more. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice and sit back and enjoy our first feature interview this episode with Vancouver Rise President Sinead King. So thank you for joining us, Sinead. I'm sure with First Kick Fast approaching that it's a very hectic time for you at the moment.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be chatting, and it is very hectic. Less than 2 weeks out and kind of approaching it with anticipation, excitement, and stress. So busy, but good busy.
Because I was going to say to you, do you feel frazzled, or are you calm, or are you like a duck? You're calm on the outside and then you're just paddling underneath?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good description. I actually felt more stressed a few weeks ago. I think now it's here, and we know that we've done as much as we can over the last year and beyond. So there's definitely stress. Most of our team joke that we wake up at 3 a.m. every night. That's new for a lot of us. But I also feel confident that we've done all we can, and it's going to be good.
I go to bed about 3 a.m, so
Oh, wow.
I'm going to bed while you're waking up. Yeah, this is an early start for me doing this. Now, I mean, you're not even a year into the role, and a lot has happened. You've had to launch a brand new football club in a brand new league. Has this been one of the most challenging jobs that you've had?
Definitely. Easily the most rewarding, but also the most challenging. And I think it's the nature of starting a new company. There's just so many unknowns. And then at the same time, it's a new league. So it's almost a new industry. And you're bringing players to a new club who have previously been with clubs that already exist. You're bringing coaches and technical staff that are used to being in environments where they're slotting in as opposed to building from scratch. And then you're hiring employees for the front office that are used to being in a company that's got well thought out policies and frameworks. So you've got all that going on just in terms of building a company. And then at the same time, you're trying to grow a soccer club specifically and make sure that we're competitive and we've got all the foundations in place there. So there's just so many different aspects that have to happen in a very tight window whilst building your brand.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that aspect of it. Like, you're going to have players coming in going, well, we've never done this at my previous clubs. And you're like, oh, and in some ways it'll be good. It'll make you think, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. But then you don't want folk coming, oh, no, they did it this way, they did it that way. So it's kind of finding a good mix.
Yeah, it is definitely great because it creates an opportunity to do things in a way that you want to. And when you're starting from scratch, you've got a load of people that can say, well, I didn't like it before. Can we think about doing it this way? So that creates so much opportunity. But then also, if you collaborate too much, you can overthink everything to death, and you've got to make decisions pretty quickly in order to keep moving to be ready for the season opener. But I do think we've done a good job of creating an environment that feels new and innovative, and like people can give feedback, and we put things in place to reflect those new ideas.
In terms of business, from you and your background, you've been at kind of opposite ends, because you were from banking, and then you've gone from like being with HSBC in India to then starting a non-profit or working for a non-profit at the other end where money's a lot tighter and it's not free flowing. So I guess this is somewhere in the middle, but it's going to have unique challenges for you, I would imagine, from any of the other businesses, because it is so different.
Yeah, it's when I was at HSBC, I loved the skills that I was able to develop and the principles of running operations and running big teams and a large corporation. And I used to say one of the things I loved about HSBC is it's 250,000 employees, and I was able to have multiple careers within one company, which I think really helped me diversify just my skills and experience. But I was never passionate about finance and banking specifically, but I loved being a leader and running a business and operations. And then I knew I wanted to try working in a smaller team, because I think if you're in a company as large as HSBC, you're kind of protected, and there's always somebody that can do something, and there's so much bureaucracy, and you're not quite as exposed in a very lean, agile team where you make that decision tomorrow and you go and do it, and you're the one doing it because there's nobody else to do it. So that's why I loved going to the Canada Plastic Pact, where we were a team of 3 to start with, and it was very much on us to build those government relations and go and find the brands that wanted to work with the nonprofit and find the funds and the grants and the investment. So those two helped me realize I wanted to be in that middle space, and I always knew I wanted to be in sport, so that was never a question. But building your own company, we're now a team of about 30 people plus our players, within an industry of 6 clubs. If you think of the league as an industry, it's that happy medium in between. And I think I can take the HSBC large corporate principles and the agile quick thinking within the CPP, and build something that's really exciting and rise. So it's a convoluted route, but it's landed in a good spot.
And I guess in terms of it as well, like, you're 6 different businesses in one business, so you're competing against each other, but you're also all wanting to grow and pull in the same direction, which is unique, I guess, in itself.
Yeah, definitely. And for example, this morning we had our weekly management council, which is the presidents and the CEOs of each club that are just having a pulse check on how things are going. And there really is that collaborate, because the success of the league is everybody's number one priority, in ensuring we've got the foundations and we're financially sustainable and we're built to have a competitive, successful league. We're also 2 weeks away from kickoff, and each club wants to be the best and wants to be winning on the pitch and wants to have the best brand and the most fans. So having that transparency whilst being competitive is a really interesting line to toe. And I think at HSBC, because it was such a big business, so I was global head of operations. I had 40 different markets working for me. And in many ways, each of those markets are the same operations, but running their own way in their own country. And I think there's an element of that matrix where you're together, but you're different, and how to walk that balance, I think complements nicely for the Northern Super League and the clubs.
So getting more into the football side then, is everything pretty much where you want it to be at this point?
I would say so, yes. Until we're on the pitch, it's hard to tell because again, normally your coaches would be doing analysis of the different squads and how they perform and how they play. None of us have seen each other's teams, so there's a lot of unknowns still until we're actually on that pitch. And we'll check in with each other and be like, how's your preseason going? Who have you played? What have your scores been? And sometimes people share, sometimes they don't. So there's still this massive curtain reveal to see if we're as ready as we think we are, and if every club has set the standard on the same level, to know what that's really going to look and feel like. But internally for Vancouver Rise, our preseason has been fantastic. The quality of the technical staff, the coaches, what they've built, I feel like we've really set the tone, and it aligns with what Steph and I dreamed of a year ago. Our players are really happy with the environment they're in. A lot of them have commented that the standard is higher than they were expecting for year one. It's currently the international camps, and we've got Quinn and Holly Ward playing for the Canadian national team. We've got Nedja Sawon with Egypt, Jessica Cowart with the Philippines, and Josie Longhurst as a training player in Wales. So we're really happy with the spread of those players that are getting opportunities coming up. And then we've also got that international exposure. The team's blended well. It's going to be good, I think.
On paper, it looks to me the strongest team. Toronto's maybe up there as well. And you look like the two favourites, but as you know, it's not played in paper, and it's what you do in the pitch. And I spoke to Holly yesterday, actually, and she's so excited. And I've followed her career for the last couple of years because she's been in League One, so I've been commentating on her games. So we had a chat about that. But she's so excited to have this opportunity. And some of the other young girls, and I've got some other interviews lined up with players that I've seen come through, they're all so excited. One thing which I haven't maybe liked as much about your roster build is you haven't gone as local as I would maybe have liked. Because I think this, 3 Vancouver players and North Van with Kirsten as well. I spoke to Steph about it and she said it wasn't deliberate, it's just worked out that way. But has the focus primarily just been on, look, we need to get players in that know things can be thrown at them unexpectedly in year one, and they've got the experience to deal with that. And a lot of the younger ones have maybe only played 3-month seasons, and now you're going to like a 6th or 7th month season.
Yeah, I think we would love to have more local players, and that's definitely in our longer term strategy. And I think the comment is very fair, and we feel that too. It has been really important for us to get more experienced players in, I would say, to help us set that tone and to help us demonstrate to fans and brands and investors that this is a competitive, high-class standard of soccer. And that doesn't mean the local players wouldn't be able to do that, but I think that influenced some of our roster build. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's an element of patience on our side. We've got what was the Whitecaps Girls Elite Academy, now the Rise Academy, as our pathway to pro in Vancouver. Some of those players come and join the Rise First team for training, sometimes depending on what the training needs are for depth in the squad. So we know we are going to have local talent come into our squad. And I think in year one, there were competing priorities, and it just meant that other aspects won. But we want more local talent in the team, definitely. And we know fans do too.
Yeah. It can also backfire, because Vancouver FC went the local route last year. I know from speaking to the management there, they felt the players got too comfortable because they were back home and their family and friends were there, and they're not pushed as much. So it can go both ways. And obviously the Rise Academy, Whitecaps Academy it's very young players, and you don't want to just throw them into the mix either.
I think as well, there's so many Canadians that were playing abroad, and a big piece of the Northern Super League is this opportunity for players that are playing pro to play on their home soil. So it was important to be able to do that as well. And over time, maybe there'll be less of that because the pathway will be coming from within Canada. But I think that was another aspect as well. There's so many Canadians that wanted to come home and play in the NSL.
Yeah, Steph had mentioned, well, I spoke to her about it as well, and it was the same in the CPL. It's selling that first year to players, because they haven't seen it. They don't know what it's going to be like. They don't know what the crowds are like, the quality is going to be like. And I think from year 2 onwards, it's going to be a much easier sell. It's like, oh, well, I could go to college, but now I've seen this and I can make a decent wage in it. And it's just such an important first year because you have to not just sell it to the fans, but also players and future players.
Yeah, and I remember speaking to a couple of players that were thinking about college versus NWSL versus the NSL, and they said it's hard, it's a bigger leap of faith to go to the Northern Super League. I've looked at the NWSL for years and I've dreamed of playing there since I was a kid. To pivot in this final year when I'm making that decision feels scary because I haven't seen this, but I've always dreamed of that. And that challenge that we're competing with is going to go away in year 2 when people have seen NSL and hopefully they've seen Swangard and they've seen 5,000 fans there cheering there on and they're like, this is a place I want to be. But it's a bold move to ask a young player to step into a club that they know nothing about and a league that they know nothing about. So that has been a challenge.
Yeah. The plus point, at least, is with the NWSL, there's going to be some folk that just don't want to go down to America at the moment. So you've got that going forward. Let's talk a little bit about your love of football. Where did it come from? When did you first fall in love with the game?
Yeah, I think I always loved it because I remember I used to play tennis when I was like, I don't know, 7 in a kids' camp. And the coach said to my parents, I think you should put Sinead in football because she keeps asking to play football during tennis. And they're like, oh, okay. I have 2 older brothers and they were pretty good footballers. We're like quite an athletic family and we would play in the garden and break the windows and hit the ball off neighbors' sides of their house, like wall ball, we used to call it. But I just played every waking moment. And I don't think it was till I was about 12, my mum finally put me in a football team in the UK instead of pushing dance and gymnastics. But I really had to push her for that because she had this perspective of it being a tomboy sport and didn't really want that for me. And then I think within my first year of playing, I got called up for Southampton, which is a local team in the UK. They had a good academy at the time. And then after 2 years at Southampton, I went to Chelsea and I was with them for a couple of years. And that's when I had to decide whether or not to pursue education or stay in the Chelsea academy and try and go professional. And my dad said quite candidly to me, there's nowhere to go with women's professional football. You're not going to make money. You're a pretty smart person. You should focus on your education. So then I went to Reading and did that in parallel with my education and then was my university first team captain. But I've always loved it. We had a QPR season ticket for 15 years and I would stand in the crowds. Loftus Road is this like energetic, atmospheric stadium.
Right on the pitch. Yeah.
Right on the pitch, yeah. And we would stand for the full 90 minutes and just scream. Quality of the football wasn't that good, so I think that's why the atmosphere had to be so good. We were in Division 1 at the time and I watched us go all the way through to the Premier League. So I love the underdog story. I love the magic of wins and losses and that journey as a fan. But for me, I lived and breathed football from a very early age. And that's why it's so exciting to be building something now because I just never thought that was possible as a kid.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with the English comedian Macy Adams.
No.
She's a big football fan and she did a 4-part thing on BBC, just an audio thing about the women's game. And the first episode was her talking about how she played, but there wasn't a high level for women. So, I mean, I think she's probably late 20s, early 30s now. And it's like she wanted to play, but she couldn't play. She wasn't allowed to play. And now all these opportunities are, like even like somebody that age, the opportunities still weren't there.
Yeah.
But you look at how the growth is in England, and Scotland's got a lot better now as well. And I guess that's the hope for here, that you can do that so that young girls coming through now can see, oh, I could be a professional footballer.
Definitely. And I remember another thing I struggled with as a teen, you either played at a very low standard or you played at the top standard, but there was none of that middle ground. And I think that's why so many girls drop out of sport because there aren't the different levels to meet the environment that you're looking for at that age. Whereas now, I mean, you see it in Canada and the Whitecaps academies across the country are fantastic. But beyond that, at the local club level as well, there's so many different ways you can interact with the the sport. And so for those that want to go on to be a pro, it's fantastic that that exists. For those that want to be a fan, you can go watch women now and be surrounded by female fans in the stand. If you want to pursue refereeing or coaching, or you just want to play recreationally, it feels like the infrastructure has really changed in the last 10 to 20 years, and that just creates so many opportunities.
Tickets. I won't expect you to give me a number. Are they where you want it to be? Because I did get an email this week offering 40% off for the
I saw
first
your
game.
tweet.
Yeah, but that wasn't like to be derogatory about it. I was wanting folk to buy tickets because obviously it's important to get folk out. And I know the women's game on Friday, we're recording this Friday morning. Speaking to someone at Canada Soccer yesterday, the sales aren't where they want it to be. But you've so much going on right now. Whitecaps are doing well. You've got CPL, you've got NSL, you've got League One, you've got summer coming up where there's so many other things for folk to do here. Has it been a little bit more challenging than you thought it might be?
Yeah, I've definitely learned Vancouver is a market with a lot going on. And something that I have learned since being in this role is we're what people call a late market. So people wait until that week of to buy tickets.
Yes.
That creates a pretty uncomfortable feeling because you can be told that, but that's all well and good, but you need to know that those tickets are going to be purchased. In terms of the fan response and support, we know people are excited about it, and that's why we wanted to play at BC Place, so that we could have this huge celebratory moment to kick things off. And from a Swangard perspective, I feel really, really confident that we're going to have that core fan base there week in, week out. BC Place was a bolder move because it is such a big stadium. And so I just really hope that the city recognises, I mean, it's the opening game, it's soccer, but also it's a special moment for Vancouver, for Canada, for women, for sport in general. So I wouldn't say they're not where we expected them to be, but maybe I thought that uptake would be quicker instantly. And so we're being patient, and we hope that people will help us demonstrate how special this moment is.
Yeah, it is exactly as you say. Folk buy it at the last minute, and it is annoying if you're trying to then budget things for it. It's also a thing as well, and I've said this from the start, and it's not to disparage the league, but so many comparisons were made with the hockey, but it's a whole different mindset here. And a lot of the folk will come out for the international games, but because they've never really gone to a women's club game here, it is a harder sell. So I did feel some of the estimations that Diana was talking about were maybe a little bit on the high side. Has the midweek matches at Swangard maybe hit it as well? And I know it's balancing getting the jewel of the crown of Swangard with, there's not a lot of weekend dates available in peak season. Do you feel that might hit tickets a little bit?
Yeah, I saw a couple of fans commenting like, wow, that's a lot of midweek games.
Yeah, I've had that too. So
yeah, and one of the challenges, and this is where I think it's a learning journey for how much investment still needs to go into women's sport, because you've got us competing with Vancouver for Swangard availability, and then you've got the 5 other clubs in their respective cities having the same challenge because none of us own our stadium and we're stepping into a stadium that is used by other teams. And it's a learning journey for each city to realise that we are potentially the primary tenant now, and that's an opportunity they should leverage. So if you're playing that like moving pieces across the 6 cities and the availability of each of the 6 stadiums and the number of games you need to have, it's not surprising at all that it has had to be that number of midweek games, and it might take a while for us to get prioritization and availability in order for that schedule to change. What we need is fans to come out to demonstrate that this is awesome and we should be the priority in those stadiums. So it could well damage us, and we'll try and brand our midweek games in a way that people want to be there, and it's a celebration and it's fun and the games are good. But we need people to come in order to make things better in years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, it's like, it is chicken and egg. Like having your last 4 games on the road as well does not help, because it's like you could be right in the mix of it and you can't capitalise on that. But
yeah, and that was as a result of Swangard being completely unavailable in October, and there was nothing we could do there this year.
Yeah. TSS had these issues last year because they shut the stadium to do the new track. So all our home games are at the start of the season.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. I've asked this a couple of times. So, like, 2 last things. The CONCACAF situation. So I take it it's Vancouver Rise Academy still that's going to be in the Champions Cup this year, or is there talks that it could be the first team? Can you loan players down to that team to play in it if it is the academy team?
Yeah, for this year, the two will be treated very differently, and it will be the academy. The NSL on a broader level is working with CONCACAF to understand what qualification looks like for the Northern Super League, and the quicker we can get in there, the better. But CONCACAF have their own eligibility requirements, and so at a league level, that's been worked out on. We're obviously very fortunate that our academy qualified via League One, and they will get to play in CONCACAF again this year. But we will respect that it is a different part of the process, and that is the girls' academy that qualified based on what existed before the NSL.
Yeah. For this year, I would assume it's the NSL winner. But then it's like, do you go for the regular season winner or do you go for the playoff winner? So it's all those things as well. So last thing, thank you for your time today. I just wanted to kind of get your just final message for people listening to this, just ahead of everything kicking off.
Yeah, no, thank you for that opportunity. My message is come and support us on April 16th. Even if you don't see yourself as a soccer fan, this is just a really, really special moment for the growth of sport, the growth of women's sport and women's movements in general, and be a part of that, celebrate that with us. The soccer and the quality and the players are fantastic, and it's going to be really, really good. But also the community that we're building is really strong. And I encourage people that didn't think about being a soccer fan, that this is a moment that you want to be a part of. So come join us on April 16th and come join us at Swangard. The two are going to be very, very different. And I encourage you to come along to both to see how much fun it is.
Yeah, that's a great way to end. Sinead King talking all things Vancouver Rise and the NSL there. And it's not long now till everything gets underway. A week and a half, 10 days. And you can imagine everyone is just running around frantic just now to make this the success it deserves to be. We talked about there, and as I tweeted out, there is a deal on at the moment that if you go into Ticketmaster, you can get 40% off tickets to the Rise's inaugural match against Calgary Wild. The discount code is all capitals VAN BC Place, VAN BC PLACE. If that doesn't work just by clicking in and hitting unlock to put in the discount code, shoot me a message and I will send you the link that you can get that discount. But let's get people in and to pack that place out. The women deserve it. They've worked hard. They've waited so long to get this league off the ground, and it's going to be a very special and historic occasion. You want to be there. But we're going to continue the women's soccer chat now in the next part as we turn our attention to the national team. They were in town to take on Argentina on Friday. We'll chat about that game. We'll bring you our second feature interview with local lass and Canadian women's national team hero Julia Grosso. And we'll be back with all of that after this episode's second Britpop song.
Hi, I'm Quinn, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I don't to pretend to do seems really dumb.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our second Britpop song for the show as we honour 30 years of Britpop. If you're a newish listener to us, we've been playing a Britpop song, at least one, sometimes two, in every episode towards the end of last year and throughout all of 2025. Britpop, fantastic time in the world of music. So many happy memories from going to gigs, going to festivals during that time, and so many great songs as well, many of them which still sound fresh today. And the song we kicked off this part with is from a Wirral band, the Boo Radleys, and this was a huge hit. You could argue it's not the normal Britpop sound, but the Boo Radleys definitely are classed as a Britpop band. They were on the go pre-Britpop from 1988 and they went until 1999 in their first version of the band. They reformed, as many Britpop bands have done in recent years, back in 2021. And that was the title track from the band's fourth album, Wake Up, which was released on March 27th, 1995 on the famous Creation label, the home of Oasis. And it entered the UK album charts this week 30 years ago. That single gave the band their first and only number one, Wake Up Boo. And it's a song that I thought everyone over here would know, but when I played it to Caitlin, she hadn't really heard it before. It's been used in a lot of TV shows and films, and being on the Creation label, it got bands a lot of attention. And that song, Wake Up Boo, was originally released at the end of February 1995, peaking at number 9. It was the band's only top 10 hit. Didn't seem to do anything over here, but if you play that to anyone that was around in the Britpop era in the mid-90s, they'll just have a smile on their face. It's one of those feel-good Britpop songs, much like Supergrass's All Right. So, yeah, Boo Radley's Wake Up Boo. That's our second Britpop song of the show. And we're going to continue the football chat now as we turn our attention to the international scene and the Canadian women's national team. They were in town on Friday night, taking on Argentina in the first of two games. The second goes over on the island in Langford on Tuesday evening, and it was a very solid 3-0 win for Canada. 2 goals in the first half. Jade Rose opened the scoring in the 24th minute. Nichelle Prince made it 2-0 in the 39th. And then a goal that I think so many folk there loved to see, were wanting to see. Local girl Julia Grosso scores with 3 minutes to go. The best goal of the game. 3-0 win, pretty comfortable against a fairly decent Argentina side. And a goalkeeper which head coach Casey Stoney felt was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And Canada made it look easy, extending their unbeaten run in open play to 23 matches. Pretty impressive. And a lot to build on for Stoney and her team. Now, you were at the game, Zach. It wasn't a great crowd, just over 12,000. They had to kind of have a 50% off deal in tickets in the lead up to this to try and get fans in. It wasn't quite what they were hoping for. I think they were hoping for a lot more. And we'll come to that part of it in a sec. So, I mean, you talked at the start, Zach, about your experience getting into the game with your daughter. I mean, how did you find it at it? It wasn't maybe the crowd everyone was hoping for, but like, how did you find the whole experience and just the game and the performance?
It was just fun because I went with my daughter, and she's just a joy to be around and to hang out with. And she's in a stage of life where I genuinely believe she still deeply loves me and cares about me. So I'm just trying to enjoy that in case in this season or next season of life.
Teenage girls. Once the hormones start kicking in.
She's great. No, she's great. But no, so I just had a lot of fun with her. But it was weird. The size of the crowd wasn't super surprising to me. The game was...
Me neither, actually. I think it was a fairly decent crowd.
The game was announced... my understanding is... I think I said this on the show before, but I think these games were actually supposed to be in Halifax or...
Yeah, they weren't meant to be here.
On the East Coast, and so...
And the timing was unfortunate because you had Whitecaps on Wednesday in a big game.
Yeah.
Whitecaps on Saturday.
Yeah.
You've got another game on the Tuesday on the island. So anyone that might maybe come over for an overnight's be like, well, let's save the money. Let's just go and see them play the same team over here.
Exactly. I mean, there was all kinds of, let's call them reasons why the crowd was not huge. I was a little more surprised that I shouldn't be surprised. There were 700 people at the TSS game, and a lot of them are passionate, vocal people. But that was the strangest thing was, like, there were some voyageurs there, but there wasn't like a large singing contingent of people.
Yeah, I only watched the highlights. By the time I got home, I was like, I'm just going to watch the highlights of it. And it didn't seem like the usual. Towards the end, it picked up a bit.
You didn't even get my joke in the text I sent to you.
No.
I said it's like Highbury in here.
Oh, yes, because of the library, yes.
Highbury Library. It was.
I did get it. I just didn't comment on it.
Oh,
I was
okay.
exhausted by that point.
There you go. Okay.
Been commentating for 4 hours.
But anyways,
I've been commentating on 4 hours, and my phone was going crazy with folk talking about the Whitecaps Stadium.
And so, just to say, there wasn't the passionate vocal support that there has been in the past, but there was still good support there, and I think the women, I think the team appreciated that.
Yeah.
But the occasion itself, I think one of the things that really stood out to me, that I was talking with the people I was at the game with, and then some people on the concourse, and we were leaving, is it was a really enjoyable actually level of football, Michael, because you had two teams that were both committed to playing football. I mean, the Argentina side obviously comes in as a lower ranked, less experienced. There's no big name, big history with the women's team in Argentina, but they came in and they played football. Like they were playing it out of the back. They didn't stop playing it. Like they said, this is who we are. This is how we're going to play. We know you're a good side. We know there's potential that you might stop us, but we're not going to change how we play. And it made for a really intriguing match. And I think Casey Stoney has been having Canada play in a good way again as well. Yep. There's a little bit of diversity in terms of the type of attack. I mean, there are a few balls over the top, but in general, I thought they played some really good attacking football. They knew that they would have more possession and stuff, and then also they recognized, I think, for the most part, really well how Argentina was, continuing to play the ball to the back and pressed well. And
it's good to play a South American team as well, because they're going to come up against them in the World Cup or the Olympics.
And did really well at winning the ball back. The first goal, Rose is, it's not a spectacular goal, but it was nice for her. And then the second goal, I think, was the really, really good one, where Adriana Leon, I think, kind of goes through three players and cuts it across. And it was
my favorite was the third one.
Well,
slightly biased.
Yeah, you're slightly biased. It was not a good goal, but it's my favorite goal scorer for sure. Yeah.
I just said in the build up to this, it was the best goal of the evening.
No, it was not. It wasn't like a rebound or it came to her. It was like a deflection, and she kind of basically put it in an empty net almost. Still, yeah, no. But I had a lot of time for Julia Grosso.
Yeah, Julia's fantastic,
but it was. I had a lot of fun. It was, like I said, good experience. It was great to see the Rise were on the concourse. Vancouver FC were on the concourse. There was someone else. There was some other group on the concourse, I think. But no, it was just it was really nice. It was a fun night out.
It is tough with so many games, and you've got the Rise coming up as well, and they've had to do the discount tickets for both these games. It's not cheap. Like, you look at some of the Rise tickets as well for the BC Place game, and it's like, wow, it's a lot of money to chill out midweek. And I know it's a historic occasion. I'm just saying in the last part, get out and do it. But when there's so many games and there's so many teams, and there's talk now there's going to be maybe a women's hockey team coming to Vancouver as well.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Expansion.
It's actually, Michael, that's ice hockey.
Ice hockey, yes.
Yeah.
That's more things for people to maybe want to go to. And it's like, money's finite for a lot of folk these days. Time's finite for a lot of folk these days.
Well, even for this Canadian match, I think that was one of the comments. It was like $72 for like the good seats in the middle, which seems like quite a bit for a friendly of this level.
I agree. But I was happy for Julia Grosso scoring at BC Place in front of her family and friends. And I was particularly pleased because on Thursday night, I got a chance to sit down with Julia. We had a fun chat about her career.
Favorite interview of the year?
It is it's high up there. We had a really good laugh, actually. She's a lot of fun. Talked about a lot of things. Go stick the kettle on again and grab another biscuit because you're worth it. And enjoy our chat with local lass, Julia Grosso. So thank you for joining us today, Julia. It must be nice to be back in BC, getting to see your family play in front of your family and friends.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. They'll all be there tomorrow. So even family that I haven't seen in a while in BC will be there. So I'm excited for that.
Does it just give you a special buzz, these games? I mean, it's obviously anytime you pull the national team jersey on, you're going to be like buzzing anyway, but knowing that you've got folk there watching you.
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing like playing at home, but when it's legit your home, like Vancouver is where I'm from, it's definitely hits differently. I think just having, because I feel like my mom and dad will come to some of my games, but like my grandma can't really do that. So just the fact that she just come to this game like means the world to me. So yeah, it makes me happy that most people can come.
Yeah, your dad follows me on social media, so it's like I see all his pictures and stuff. So so I know he's traveled all around the world at all your games and stuff. And like coming through the system here, you obviously were with the Whitecaps, you had a youth career here. I'm involved with TSS. I know that you were with TSS for a while. And then I thought it was lovely last year. You suddenly appeared at a TSS League One game and signing autographs and stuff. So it's important to you, I guess, to still be part of this community.
Yeah, I'd say that growing up, I looked up to this team a lot when I was younger. And I mean, I still do. And yeah, I just think for me, that really inspired me and wanted to keep pushing myself. And I just saw myself being here one day and it just kind of gave me something to really look forward to, like a dream. And I feel like giving back, just kind of showing up to some games when I can. I mean, I'm never really here, but like if I could make that one game, maybe they'll look at it and be like something, it's different when you see someone on like TV or like social media versus them being right there. Cause I know that made a difference for me. So yeah, I just try and give back as much as I can.
Yeah, you certainly created a buzz that day. I was doing the commentary and I was like, where's all these kids running to? And then I looked down and then I saw you. I mean, I was speaking to Holly today, Holly Ward, and I spoke about the World Cup when it was here in 2015. She was 10. So, I mean, you were 14 when it was here. What impact did that have on you as a person, knowing that this is the pinnacle of where you could be, and then a few years later you're playing in one of them?
Yeah, I'd say, it's just like are you talking about the one here? That was
the 2015 one. Yeah.
I went to one of those games and it was really cool. And I think that was definitely a turning point in my career because I was kind of at that age where like it was getting serious and getting like higher levels and all of that. So I think for me, like watching that, especially seeing the crowds and just everything kind of with it, it was like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, I think that was definitely a pivotal moment for me, especially seeing this team.
I was having a look at the roster for these two games. Now, this is going to go out on our Sunday show, so it's going to be after the one that was at BC Place. And I thought, you must be one of the older women on the roster now. But you're not. You're still one of the young ones. I know there's some of the ones.
Honestly, I'm just glad now that younger players are coming in. Because like for the longest time, Jordan and we always talk about this. Like, you know, when like you do rondos and you're the two in the middle, because I feel like I've been in the middle for 7 years now. So it's nice that younger faces are coming in now, because we're still on the young side of the team. So
yeah.
7 years later.
I know, because I thought, oh no, you must be. So I was going to ask you about being one of the older heads. I was like, oh no, you're not.
I'm getting there, but not yet.
Yeah. I mean, does it feel different under Casey Stoney? I've chatted to her a couple of times and she seems wonderful. Like even her press conference today, when she left, some of the media were talking and we were like, wow, she's fantastic. And that's us seeing that. I mean, you're working closely with her. Does it feel different?
100%. I think she definitely brings a breath of fresh air and just new energy, new ideas that I feel like this team needed. And yeah, I would say she's a very like players coach, which I love because she she'll talk, she engages, she cares about what you think and she wants to help you. And so I think that's something this team like needed, and I think that she's doing a great job.
I'm not going to delve into this, so don't worry. But like with everything that happened last year, is it nice now to just draw a line under it and just concentrate on the stuff on the pitch?
Yes, for sure. I think all of that was definitely stressful for everybody, but I feel like this team does a really good job at kind of just living in the moment. And, that's way behind us now and is what it is. And we move on. But I think this team now is just kind of just living in the moment, game by game. And yeah.
Yeah. Looking at your club career, like the move to Juventus, obviously Italian heritage, but it's like, were your family Juventus fans?
Honestly, like I didn't realize how many people were Juventus fans. Like, I mean, maybe they're just saying that because I went there, but like besides that, I feel like a lot of people that even from Vancouver, I feel like there's a big Italian community here.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just were big Juventus fans. My family, not really.
Yeah, I didn't think
my dad's
think
like
your
more
dad
Portuguese,
was.
so
Yeah.
so it's more like he's more on the Portugal side, like
Right.
whatever team's there. But yeah, I feel like not many, but
How did that move
now
come
they are.
about? Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
now they definitely are. I mean, how did that move come about? Because, like, you see a lot of the Canadian players either go NWSL or maybe over to England, and this one just seemed a little left field.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it was a perfect fit. I know, like in Italy, like my style of play is more like just very technical. And I felt like Italy was definitely the place for that. And I am Italian, so that definitely it caught my eye for sure. But I am so glad I went there because I've learned so much. I had an amazing coach. He's now the coach of Lyon, but he was such a great coach and he helped me out a lot. And I feel like my game really developed in Italy. So I'm so grateful for that experience.
And you can't do much better than winning a treble in your first season either. I mean,
Wow,
that's
that was pretty
magic.
cool.
Yeah. I've never been to Turin. I love Italy. I love Lake Garda up in the north. It's just a beautiful part of the country. Did you get a chance to really go and explore the country?
There would be trips where I would be like, we would play in like Napoli and then I would go to the Amalfi Coast for like a day, like stuff like that. So it was just kind of like wherever we played, or we'd play in Milan and then I would stay there for like that night. And then like I tried, or like Venice, I did that, but I did it a few times. But we played everywhere. So I kind of been everywhere, but sometimes
Yeah.
I would depends the city because some of them are questionable, but most of them were good.
So what brought you back to North America then?
I think the biggest thing for me was like family. I'm very big on family, and I feel like everything to do with soccer was so amazing in Italy, but I felt at sometimes I missed home and just missed being near my mom and dad and like my sister. I don't know. I feel like that's just a very big part of my life. And yeah, I felt like at times it was really difficult for me, and I just thought that, I was there for like almost 3 years. I think it was 2.5. So I felt like I wanted to change as well. So yeah, it was a bit of both, but I loved Italy. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
just a bit of everything.
I mean, mentioning your sister, I didn't know until the engagement got announced that she was with Joel, because like I've known Joel for years and we've spoken to him on the show loads, and I just saw him a couple of weeks ago here, and I was like, oh wow, so football's very much
Oh yeah,
involved
my
in all
sister definitely
aspects.
gets like irritated because me and Joel will be like, because I'll watch his game, he'll watch mine, and like we'll FaceTime, and Carly's just kind of like in the room. She'll say her input. We're like, all right, we're not talking to you, and we're just like talking. But yeah, it's so nice. Like he's the best brother-in-law, and he gets it, and we kind of understand each other's sports. So it's nice to have that support system. So it's yeah.
Last couple of things. So obviously this is a big month here in Canada for the women's game. The Rise are going to be at BC Place a week and a half after your game. How excited are you to see this league? And like, do you think you'll end up in it at some point down the road?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, I'm just really excited for the league to open and start. Because I remember when I was younger, I was on the Whitecaps, and I remember very vividly before college, I was like, darn, like I really wish we had a league because maybe I could stay. Like I was and like I knew there was like kind of talks of it, but like there was nothing clearly happened. But I'm so glad that now, because I feel like this new league will inspire generations, and now it's like these kids can all go to these games, and if the national team isn't playing here, they can go to the Rise games in Toronto, Montreal. There's just so many games to go to, and I feel like that's just like a massive growth piece for soccer in Canada for sure.
It's fantastic, and having the TV deal really helps as well, because that's what's held the CPL back. They've been on private streaming, so folk don't see it. At least this league's there for everyone to see, and young girls can watch it and say, oh, I can be a professional footballer. And you didn't have that.
No, I didn't have that. But like this team definitely made me like open my eyes to like bigger dreams. But I feel like that's another layer, and just it's like more girls will want to play, and so I think it's a great thing.
I've two quick fun questions to end with. How many times have you watched your winning penalty at the Olympics?
Well, I'm just kidding. Not honestly, I probably once, but what
really? I'd have that on every night.
Yeah, honestly, genuinely, I'm not just saying this, probably once, but I don't know if this counts, but like I have this like my mom was in Kelowna and they were all filming her. I mean, like filming it, and then my dad was at home in both are in BC, in Vancouver, and they had that reaction, and then my soccer
saw that
team had a reaction, like my college team. So I like 3 or 4 times, like 10 times, 20. I've gone back and watched the reaction videos because they make me emotional, but I haven't really rewatched the PK itself. I think I just like it makes me happy to rewatch like my family's reaction. I think that's just like really cool. So yeah.
And the last thing, I was watching an A-League game down in Australia. I think it was because Danielle Steer was down there and I was watching the game, and there was a Julia Grosso playing, which I was like, oh. And then at first I was like, was that you? And I missed your transfer. And then I looked it up. How many times have you two, or have you been mistaken for her by people that have just done research and got the wrong Julia Grosso?
Oh, I just heard about her when she came to the NWSL, because then there was 2. But other than that, I never really knew. But I just found out when I forget what team, but she was somewhere in the NWSL.
Utah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Utah, and I kind of heard of her at Utah. But then other than that, like I haven't really, because someone in the NWSL was like, you went to Utah? I was like, what? And that was like the time I heard about that. But yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, because I wanted to check something for you to see how many games you'd played for Juve. So I put your name in, and then her picture came up as well, and it's like,
yeah.
But yeah, that confused me. Well,
what are the odds of that?
Thank you for your time today.
Oh,
it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Enjoy these 2 games. It should be some special times, and good luck for the rest of the NWSL season.
Thank you. It was very nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks, Julia. Julia Grosso there. Had a lot of fun during that one, Zach. She's so amiable, and we're just laughing, talking about her sister being engaged with Joel Waterman, asking her, how many times have you watched the penalty that you scored? And she's like, oh no, not very often, maybe 8 or 9 or 10 or... And it just kept going up. But she said she's more watched the reaction of her family watching it because her mum and dad were filmed doing it. And I remember watching her dad, the video for it as well. And I mean, that was just such a magical moment.
Oh, yeah.
And like, she wants to give back. And as I talked about there, she was at a League One game last year of TSS, just signing autographs for what seemed like about an hour and posing for photos with kids and stuff. And yeah, she's so nice. And we joked about there, because I was going into the interview, because I've spoken before, I'm not good with ages. Folk either don't age or I can't think what age they are. So I thought, oh, she must be one of the older players on the team now. And then you look and it's like, oh no, she's not. And she's like, yeah, I'm fed up being the young one, having to do the rondos in the middle. But now they've been bringing the young girls in. It's like she gets out of that a little bit. But so much fun to chat to her. Wish her all the best. And she is someone we're going to see in the NSL, you have to think, down the line.
Oh, eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Not for a while. Making way better money, I'm sure, in the NWSL. Last thing to talk about the women's national team in this part. The under-17s, huge congratulations. The boys qualified for the World Cup this year and the girls have joined them. They're heading to Morocco, qualifying for some bizarre reason, I've written the 2017 World Cup.
It's
We've
under
gone back in
17.
time. It's the Under-17 2025 FIFA World Cup in Morocco in October. They beat Nicaragua and Panama in their first two group games, and they booked their berth today with a nervy 4-2 win over Puerto Rico. I was watching that, and then I ended up fast-forwarding through the first half of the Vancouver FC game, because I thought, oh, it'll be put to bed by half-time, and then I watched the CPL game. No. Puerto Rico took the lead. This was a game that a draw might have been enough for them, depending on what happened with the Costa Rica game. And as it turned out, as the game went on, a draw was going to be enough. But they trailed twice in this, 1-0 and 2-1. And then they came back and it was a 3-2 win in the end. Kaylee Hunter getting the winner. And yeah, they've qualified. They made hard work of it, but I think it showed the mental attitude of the girls to get through that one. So huge congratulations to them. Gary Moody as well. We had a chat with him in our extra podcast. Well, that is pretty much it for the show. But of course, we can't finish without this episode's Wavelength. And if you're a new listener, Wavelength is this section of the show where we play a song all about football. Could be by a band, could be by a solo artist, a football team, a footballer themselves. The one thing it's got in common is they're about football, and we never run out of these songs. We've been playing these since 2017 on the show, and we've still got a lot more to bring you. And this episode, we're going back to 1984, and a song for Brentford. Doing well in the English Premier League these days? Not so much flying high when this was released. This was a double A-sided single by a band called The Bees Band. It was kind of a put-together band, really, just to release a football song. We'll play the A-side, I'm sure, somewhere down the line, but this was the flip side of it, and it features some very well-known players on it. Rumours are the legendary Stan Bowles is singing the vocals on it, with the likes of Chris Kamara and Terry Hurlock backing singers as well. This is The Bees Band. Somebody give me the ball.
Just before 3, the crowd are all waiting for the game to begin in anticipation. Hope we do well, we gotta start scoring, cause I know if we don't, it's relegation. Somebody give me the ball.
from 1984, the Bees Band, Somebody Give Me the Ball. And I like the fun in that lyrics. You're demanding the ball. You want to show what you can do. But then you have to find out that you're going up against a centre-back that you don't really want to mess with. And he might put you in Rosehead. But yeah, good song there. That is it now for the show. Just before we go though, Zach, any final thoughts from you, and where can people find you online?
I have so many final thoughts. So many things I want to talk about.
Oh, no.
I probably forgot all of them now.
You do look tired.
Okay, there's that one. That one's easy. That one. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is this your half an hour of Bayern chat?
There's massive Bayern news. It's actually kind of connects to MLS, right? Like the Bayern Munich. I think it wouldn't be totally unfair to say that you could sum up the modern history of Bayern Munich in 3 eras: the Gerd Müller era.
And I know where you're going now.
The in between the two Müllers era and the Thomas Müller era.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty sad that it sounds like his his time at Bayern has come to an end after 25 years, and the way it came about is not great. But I've heard, I can't remember this, I haven't confirmed this, but he might be with them for the Club World Cup in the summer. But yeah, and now maybe there's MLS interest, or there's San Diego.
And we have a German in charge of the Whitecaps.
He's not coming here, Michael. San Diego, Cincinnati, big German community, and I think I heard Kansas City, and then supposedly Bayern would like him to go to LAFC because of their connection there and helping broaden that connection or strengthening that connection. I don't see that happening either. Anyways, just kind of sad, really sad, and there's a ton of injuries at Bayern right now, and the Champions League is happening. The first leg of the quarterfinals this week, and I have a lot of concerns that we might go out in the quarterfinals for this.
Who are you playing? I lost interest once Celtic were out.
Inter Milan.
Oh,
yeah. So we'll see what happens. The other thing, which I know we'll probably get into on the other week's show, but I just want to give it a shout out now, is it was really great. Actually, I remember the other one before I get to that one. Because I know people, or a few people, love this, but this weekend again, headed goal from a quarter for Kendall Waston for Saprissa, back-to-back 1-0 victories. Things seem to be going well under Paulo Wanchape down in Central America. Kendall seems to be enjoying him as coach, which is great. And it's, again, things could change, but I am actually now scheduled to return to Costa Rica in August, and again, hopefully we'll have a Saprissa element to that excursion if I can make it happen, which would be a lot of fun. And so we'll see how it goes. But I was also messaging with Kendall this week about something else that happened, and that is a fellow friend from, I guess we would call it La Banda, who I got
the infamous La Banda.
La Banda. Nicholas Mosqueda has signed for Vancouver FC in the CPL, and so it was really good to see him today and catch up a little bit. And actually, I also got to talk to Sam today, which was really great. He's out watching his brother.
I was talking to someone today, and I said, Nico Mosqueda's going to get announced today for Vancouver FC. And the person said, isn't he like 48 now? And I was like, no, he's like 33 or something.
Yeah, he just turned 33 in January. Yeah, really short and sweet. He could provide the creativity and spark that they need to. He could provide the service that they need for these two, historically clinical strikers up front in Karen Campbell and Wiro Diaz. But
because we won't go into the game just now.
We'll talk about the game later.
We're going to bring out another show on Thursday that will look at the Pumas game, and we'll look at the CPL as well. But they need some creativity in there. Yeah. Let's just say that. They never got out to the Provincial Cup either.
I didn't get to the Provincial Cup this weekend because
I take it you know the score.
Yes. Oh, did you? But you know the Vancouver FC U19s only had 11 players.
No, I just know they lost 3-1.
A bunch of the players have been now with the League One BC clubs.
Yeah, we've got Tristan Otomagi.
Yeah.
But I believe he was allowed to play. Like, we gave him permission to play.
I don't know. I just was told there was 11 players, and we lost 3-1 to Highlanders, so that's over. I will say, yeah, we will talk about the game on another podcast, but all I'll say is, aside from some help creative wise, we could also use some, better officiating. But that's a story for another time.
That's throughout Canada by the looks of it.
We're not the only CPL side who feels that way.
Yeah. I kind of wish I hadn't run out of time with Martin Noonan to ask him about VAR.
Yes,
Just like,
yes.
I haven't even got time to ask you about VAR.
It's very much needed.
Yeah. But yeah, we will be back with another episode on Thursday. We'll be talking Whitecaps, Pumas. We will be talking CPL. I've also got an interview to bring you with Vancouver Rise and Canada Women's National Team player Holly Ward. Maybe she'll get her first appearance for the senior team on Tuesday in the island. Fingers crossed for that.
I will say to people, though, I mean, obviously those who are into it and already, and will do this on their own. But even if you're not into the CPL, check out this week's, the opening week, the highlights of the match.
Yeah.
It was a really good, I mean, as bad as it was for Vancouver FC, really good week.
Well,
wonder goals, some sending off.
As I tweeted out, there's a
really
Puskas Award nominee potentially in there.
Yeah, I don't. It's not that quality of a strike.
Eric Castley-esque.
No, it's not on that level. It's not as intentional as
you're also going under a different kind of goalkeeper as well. But
yeah, Eric Castley, the intent is fully there.
Let's just say I watched that game, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, TSS might have a chance in the Canadian Championship after all." Yeah.
Also that goal had me crying out for better camera angles as well.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back chatting about that next time. Until then, as always, thank you for listening. Take care. Mon the Caps and Allez Le Rouge.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.